disco track, is well known among many Thais for some time. It was mentioned in His Majesty's speech on the 4th of December 1992. Do you recall to what issues the disco track leads?
By the look of it, the road is no different from any other. But the sign disco track stands out to anyone who sees it, not because it bears something unusual, but the name refers to one of the roads to be kept in our memories because it relates to His Majesty the King.
It was an unpaved road, actually a path, passable to ox-drawn carts, with thick woods and overgrown vegetation on both sides. Even local people found it quite trying to go through there. The king described it as a rocky road, making you shake as if dancing in a discotheque. That was when the term came up, just as the king was travelling through. By the time he came back through, the path had been named.
The even paved road of today leaves no trace of its original condition when His Majesty travelled through in the night of the 25th of November 1992.
He told us upon arriving at the Khao Wong Widyakan school that looking down from the helicopter after circling the site for a while, he saw something which interested him very much, so he took a trip here to inspect.
Here, over here, this way down.
What Mrs. Piangxi was referring to is the way to Gutdor Ken, close to Lower Lampayang Creek, the destination of His Majesty's marathon trip in those days. Close by was the impromptu guide's, Mrs. Piangxi's own tiny plot of land.
Here we are, my paddy field. The king came down this way too.
This rough path has changed somewhat in that it is less untidy now.
The road has changed. It used to be just a narrow path far down there.
Right next to Mrs. Piangxi's plot of land was the creek His Majesty saw from the helicopter.
Here, Gutdoken, the essence of this place.
At the time, no one would have thought the creek would become the source of so many stories being told even today.
Here, step over this fence, over toward the track. Are you coming?
That night of 14 years ago, nobody had thought this place would be in the route of His Majesty's visits. It was an impromptu visit, of course.
The path was far more untidy at the time he came here. He asked us how we would like to have water supply. My husband said yes. The king told us that's why he came. He walked down to here.
It would not be far-fetched to say that the 8-rai plot of land owned by Mrs. Piangxi serves as an inspiration to His Majesty's new theory approach, which he later initiated for farmers in Khao Wong District, Kalasin Province.
He grabbed a sheaf saying, "Oh, I see no grains on these stalks." That was how he put it. Why was there no grain? This is not edible. They are half-grain crops.
We really had no water at all. The creek dried up completely. Only rocks everywhere.
Despite long periods of absolutely no rain, coupled with sandy soil which barely holds water, it was astonishing to His Majesty that the rice plant was that hardy in its struggle for survival. This gave rise to his subsequent remark that only a little bit of help can mean a somewhat bigger gain. At least they can have enough to eat. Quite a large number of Thai farmers own less than 20 rai of land each. Their livelihood relies solely on Mother Nature's mercy. As a result, the yield from these small plots of land does not suffice to bring in an income to feed the family. How can the moderate-sized piece of land, the farmer's only capital asset, sufficiently nurture the owner's livelihood, and at the same time secure him a virtual immunity against capricious natural forces?
That sheaf of undeveloped rice stalks inspired His Majesty to acquire some 10 rai of land in Khao Wang district and turn it into an experiment station to squarely resolve food scarcity among farmers. And it was there, in Khao Wang, that the term, the new theory, was created by His Majesty. Incidentally, my son, who was assistant village headman, heard at a meeting that a certain family had put up their land for sale at 4 to 5 million baht per plot. I told my son we were not going to sell our land. Instead, we would donate it to the king.
That was how this area became the first private-owned piece of land come experiment plot under the new theory scheme. In one of His Majesty's addresses, Mr. Kaikam's spirited voluntary act was commended as follows. And he did not even impose any condition. He did not say he would like this or that in return if the project proved successful. Nothing. All he specifically said was that the king was to use his land as he saw fit. It goes to show that even a country folk understands very well how to go about developing a nation.
After the land donation, His Majesty let me continue on with the farming for generations. But just do not sell it, he told me.
Ever since then, Mr. Kaikam has put the new theory into practice. An exemplary farmer, he continues to enjoy full revenue from what his land, His Majesty's land, has yielded.
An industrious person never starves, was what the king said. And it was verifiably true, too.
Looking back now at the period starting from 1989 at a place near Wat Mongkon Chai Patana in Saraburi province, His Majesty spent a certain amount of money from his own personal fund to acquire a piece of land and set up a development service centre for experimentations and studies on an agricultural development model.
His Majesty's objective was to establish by experimentation whether it would be feasible to develop a plot of land owned by an average farmer's household, say 10 to 20 rai, through integrated agriculture, which should help make farmers become self-supporting the whole year through, and possibly even have an excess of produce to be sold. At that early stage, His Majesty had not called it the new theory yet.